Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about issues that are urgently important as we face some deeply serious environmental concerns. We're discussing sustainable digital infrastructure and the greening supply chains. To explore those topics, I'm joined by two industry experts. With me is Jennifer Ruch, Director, Sustainability and ESG at Equinix. Jennifer, hello to you.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
Also on our panel is John Schulz, Director of Sustainability Operations at AT&T. John, hello to you today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So some big issues to be sure. I would ask the two of you, as a digital infrastructure partner to many enterprise and cloud providers, what's your sense of where customers are on their sustainability journeys? I mean, and what do we mean by green supply chains? Why is that so important? Jennifer, what's your take on this?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I lead sustainability at Equinix, and we're the world's largest digital infrastructure provider. Well, we build, own, and operate over 225 data centers around the world. So we're really critical to our customers' digital transformations and helping them green their digital supply chains. And as James mentioned, we have customers all over the world, and they're at various stages of maturity in their sustainability journeys. And I think it's our job to kind of help them along those journeys and kind of demonstrate the value of sustainability to their supply chains, helping them green their infrastructure, access renewable energy in a scale that, we can access, whereas they might not be able to, and kind of educate them along the way on, best practices on sustainability reporting and disclosure and, the different innovations that are going to change our industry for the better.
Interesting. John, what's your take? Where are companies with their sustainability journeys these days?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I'm John Schulz. I'm with AT&T. I've been with the company for about 20 years, about 15 years of those with sustainability. And so I've seen actually a pretty dramatic change to your question. When I started back in 2008 as the carbon footprint guy at AT&T, that was somewhat unique, right? That was not every company was doing it. Some of the bigger ones were, but not everyone was. And you fast forward to today, and it's changed dramatically. It has changed dramatically. When I think about the companies that we work with, if you look at research, Forrester will tell you, over 50% of the Fortune 200 are now setting goals related to climate change. So you got that statistic, as a backdrop. But I talk to customers all the time, and I can't remember the last time I talked to a customer who wasn't thinking about this. It's really becoming infused into the way businesses are thinking about it. And there are lots of reasons for that. Whether it's pressure from investors or from regulatory bodies, these kind of things, but it's definitely becoming real and more common for lots of different types of customers. And what's great is that we recognize that. I think AT&T, as having been around doing this for a while, just like Equinix, we realize this is not only a risk to our customers, but also an opportunity, right? How do we think about turning the corner and helping business, but also addressing emissions reduction and climate change? And so we recently introduced something called the Connected Climate Initiative, and I'll talk about this more, but the reason we are together here today is that Equinix is a part of that, and we are working together. And what's really cool is if you pair Equinix data center operations, which are super clean and super efficient, with AT&T's highly secure connectivity, you think about making that digital transformation to the cloud, doing it to a clean place, right? And so when you think about supply chain, right, you asked about supply chain, is that something that's relevant? Absolutely. We're starting to get lots of questions as suppliers to our customers about what are we doing about emissions. So supply chain is absolutely becoming a more relevant and bigger piece of a company as they think about emissions. And happy to say that Equinix and AT&T are partnering together to help those customers, clean up their supply chain.
Let's talk about some of the goals. We're seeing a lot of companies and nations come out with sustainability goals, just as becoming carbon neutral or net zero by a certain date. I mean, I've heard 2030, I've heard 2050. I mean, how well defined are these targets? I mean, can you talk about the differences within the context of data center operations? Jennifer, what do you see here?
Yeah, I think corporate climate targets are really becoming table stakes for all types of industries, including the data center sector and anybody who operates digital infrastructure. So When I look at targets, we want to understand our most material environmental impact. And for Equinix, that's really the impact around our electricity consumption from our data centers and our customers' IT equipment. So it's really important that we set climate targets that directly address the levers we're going to pull to reduce our carbon emissions. And that's why we look to organizations like the Science Based Target Initiative, RE100, frameworks like that to help us define what corporate leadership looks like and how do we set targets that are measurable, actionable, and really demonstrate progress. So Science Based Target Initiative is one commitment that we've recently made. We did set a validated science-based target, which the company agrees to voluntarily reduce its emissions across both our own operations and our supply chain by 2030 through a variety of different methods. And then in addition, we took one further step to become the first global co-location data center to set a climate neutral goal. So that is our operations, our scope 1, which is considered our on-site footprint from carbon emissions, things like diesel generator emissions, and our scope 2, which is that big bucket of electricity emissions. And we want to neutralize those completely by 2030 as well. And we're going to continue to evolve our targets as our companies like AT&T, because what we're seeing in the industry is that we have this macroeconomic problem of climate change, and we want to look toward our governments to help lead us. But at the same time, we see that we're falling short of those greenhouse gas targets. So companies like AT&T and Equinix are really stepping up to lead the way and help drive those emission reductions that are urgently needed.
Jennifer, just one follow-up. It's a really ambitious goal then at 2030. I mean, is that going to be a really difficult goal, a super ambitious goal, or is that a reasonable goal in your view?
So I think it's a reasonable goal, but it is ambitious because when you look at the electricity supply chain, there's still many areas in the world that we cannot access renewable energy. So we have to use other levers. We need to advocate for more favorable policy to access renewable energy. We need to work with other companies like AT&T to demonstrate that companies want to buy renewables. And so we're waiting to see, how these regulatory spaces evolve, and hopefully through collective action, we'll see that transformation happen in the energy sector so that we can reach those goals in the next 10 years.
John, what's your sense in terms of the sustainability goals? How well defined are they?
They're fundamentally they're based on this idea of measurement, right? And that's really where it all starts, is that idea that you have to have visibility into where your emissions are coming from, and so you start there and you build up from there. So Jen mentioned this idea of the different scopes. And that's really fundamental. And when we started, these are defined by governing bodies that say scope 1 is the energy that you're consuming directly. Scope 2 is the energy that you're using from purchased electricity, those kinds of things. And scope 3 is your supply chain and your indirect emissions from business travel and things like this. And it's really critical that you start there. And then build up, and as Jen said, find out where's your biggest bang for your buck, where can you have the biggest impact, and really show that you are addressing the scope that is the biggest. And with that, you can then set your goal. And so there's lots of different language out there, but the good news is that AT&T and Equinix are both, I think, leaders in this space. We've both set ambitious goals. I would say it's absolutely an ambitious goal. We have a similarly ambitious goal to be carbon neutral across our scopes 1 and 2 for 2035. So I think AT&T and Equinix are kind of setting that expectation, setting the pace for those kind of things. And what's great is you think about, as we work with our customers, right? So think about a customer who is on their journey to the digital transformation, and they are looking to set an ambitious goal. If they work with a group like Equinix and AT&T to move from their old infrastructure, which is probably where they had servers in a room or in a closet, and they've got, that's using a lot of electricity for running those servers and running the air conditioning unit. That's a lot of what we call scope 2 electricity usage, and that's probably a big chunk of their environmental footprint. What's cool is as you work to transition to a lower footprint, one of the options is you can move to a supplier like Equinix and AT&T. So you're actually shifting those old scope 2 emissions, which may or may not be a critical, something you can handle on your own, to a scope 3 scenario where you're working with AT&T and Equinix, who are both have these ambitious goals to feel good about the fact not only you're making your digital transformation to the cloud, you're doing it to cloud providers and connectivity providers that are really concerned and have ambitious emissions reductions goals. So this whole idea of how do you set your goals, it really starts from the fundamentals of where are your emissions and how do you look to shift those emissions to sources that are lower. And one of those could be shifting it to the scope 3 emissions with a supplier like us.
Well, let's talk about the technology and what the technology might do for us. I mean, how are tech-enabled solutions like artificial intelligence, like IoT, enabling global enterprises as well as SMBs to increase energy efficiency and reduce their carbon emissions? Jennifer, your take here?
Yeah, I mean, I think John might have more to say about some of these, AI and machine learning and things like that. But we see at Equinix a lot of opportunity to leverage those type of software solutions to improve efficiency, both for our customers as well as inside of our own data centers. So a lot of the time that I spend thinking about is how do we optimize our own sites for efficiency, so that when customers come in, they're accessing renewable energy, they're accessing highly efficient, data center platform where we have kind of dedicated expertise to improve efficiency inside of the site, whether we're using software like, artificial intelligence to identify efficiency opportunities, as well as your physical just changes in your hot and cold aisle containment to make sure we're optimizing airflow inside the site. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, to improve efficiency within our industry. And I think John probably can speak more on the software side.
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely right. I mean, all these things that we talked about, AI, IoT, they're all built on digital infrastructure, right? So what you just described, Jen, is critical to the foundation of making all this other stuff possible. When you build on top of that, you start layering on these services. We really think of our capabilities as enabling two key levers to reduce emissions. One is this idea of broad scale efficiency, right? How do you generate technology solutions, data-informed solutions, smart climate solutions that drive efficiency at scale? And so one of these is the example we're talking about today, which is the move to the cloud that is a more efficient cloud. But then you've also got these connections that you make, right? Well, AT&T is all about making connections. And when you think about connecting things, those can be stationary things like the equipment in a building. They can be things that are on the move like vehicles. But regardless, when you make a connection to a thing, all of a sudden you have access to information. And that information can be used in a much more timely and impactful way to be efficient. What I reflect on is when I started with AT&T, we had lots of different types of buildings, and we would only find out, for the most part, we would only find out about our electricity usage when we got the bill. Think about that. That was not only a month later, it was like a month plus a 45-day buffer. You had no idea what your buildings were doing with electricity usage until way too late. Well, if you have a spike of electricity usage, you're like, what happened? I don't know what happened. How do I go troubleshoot that? How do I bring that down? When you have a connected building with lighting and cooling infrastructure where you can see what's happening in an almost real-time way, you can address issues and drive efficiency more efficiently. Same thing with vehicles, right? If you know how a vehicle is being operated, is it idling too much? Is it speeding too much? That can identify ways to increase efficiency. So one way we think about it is this idea of efficiency at scale. The other way we think about it is innovation, right? How do we infuse connectivity into fundamental business processes or new products that can radically change things? Right? We used to be in a carbon intensive world. How do we radically change to a low emissions world? And we're looking for that in three key areas, because these are areas where emissions are high today. And those are areas of transportation, energy, and manufacturing. So as an example, how does a connected vehicle and a connected EV charging station help speed our transition to EV vehicles to get ourselves off of fossil fuels as a way to get from point A to point B? So really, we're really excited about this. You can kind of get down about climate change occasionally when you read some of the news, but we're also very optimistic and excited that some of these solutions, which are available today, can really be a part of this pursuit of efficiency and transformation. And of course, President Biden, who spoke at COP26, all about climate change and the need to pursue, a dramatic, 52% reduction of U.S. emissions by 2030. These are all kind of in the environment that we're now living. Really, I guess how would businesses like ours and our customers work to help them meet these ambitious goals?
Yeah, and I think this is a great question because digital transformation is going to enable so many different industries to improve their own efficiency. And at the same time, we're doing a ton on our own operations to make sure when our customers are co-locating within our sites, whether we have networks like AT&T inside, that we're making sure that their supply chains are green and they're accessing renewable energy at scale, for example. So Equinix in 2015 was the first company to set a 100% renewable goal, and we've made a lot of progress on that goal. We buy renewable energy in all of the different regions of the world that we operate in, including all around Asia, across the US, Canada, and Brazil as well. And then, we're nearly at 100% renewable energy across Europe. So all of our customers, when they're inside of our data centers, they're looking at efficiently deploying IT infrastructure and accessing the different opportunities within, the interconnection and the digital services spaces that Equinix offers. But really the backbone itself is, renewable energy, and that low carbon energy, that we offer enables them to, improve both efficiency and their carbon footprints. And that's really important to Equinix that we help educate our customers on this, great opportunity when they move into data centers. And then we help them, with their own, greenhouse gas quantification, I think measurement reporting is really key in this industry and sustainability. So we help them by providing what we call Equinix Green Power Reports, where we help quantify their energy consumption, their renewable energy coverage, their carbon footprints, and what does that mean for their climate goals, and education on what Equinix has already done on climate neutral and science-based targets. And we really feel sustainability is a collaborative exercise, and that's evidenced through our partnership with AT&T.
No, that's really awesome. The amount of detail to provide information you can provide to your customers, and we were on a similar journey. We're feeling that pressure. We know our customers are feeling that pressure, and so renewables actually are a big part of our plan as well. But we fundamentally, just like you, looked at our internal operations to figure out, how can I drive efficiency, right? You always hear the cleanest, electron is the one you don't have to use, right? So yep. we started with our own operations and started folding in renewables as well, and that we actually learned quite a bit about that, and that's actually what gave us the confidence that we needed to set the carbon neutral goal to be carbon neutral by 2035. But we know that our customers are feeling that pressure, and we're extending our hand, Equinix, for the IT infrastructure piece, AT&T for the highly secure connectivity, both of us with aggressive goal. And that's, I think, part of a way our customer could think about it. But I also think about how the services that we build on top of that cloud with Internet of Things and 5G and edge computing can help our customers. And a couple of examples that come to my mind is we've actually been working with customers for about 5 years to identify some of these ideas. One is this company that we work with called Traxon. They're a really cool startup company, new innovative. This definitely falls into the innovative, disruptive category, where they're looking to work with big rigs, and which obviously use a ton of fuel to transport assets and materials all around the country. How do you use AI that is connected by AT&T's network to really optimize the driving of those big rigs and help reduce fuel there? A great example of that transportation efficiency that we're trying to drive. Another example is this company called Grind Energy. They're actually part of the Emerson company, and they recognize that, gosh, food waste is a huge problem, right? When you throw away food, it generates a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And they came up with this really cool solution that turned food waste into this slurry that generated clean biogas. But they had a problem where it was too hard to manage. They couldn't do it directly, but by making it a connected solution where they got all kinds of data, it really unlocked that platform as a viable option. So you think about the different ways the connectivity, built on efficient data center and making that data transformation can help drive efficiency, can help drive innovation. That's really what the Connected Climate Initiative is about. And so I mentioned that earlier. This is a collective effort among AT&T and other technology companies like Equinix and our customers and academics and other environmental nonprofits, really to come together and figure out, how do we drive scale? How do we drive, how do we use data? How do we drive scale of efficiency and help reduce emissions? So I'd like to take this moment, Jen, to say thank you to Equinix for being part of the Connected Climate Initiative, and thanks for taking time here today to talk about what you're doing and let me have a chance to talk about what AT&T is doing and how we can help our customers together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to find partners that share, our climate goals, our sustainability journey, being able to talk about the benefits that both companies bring, and then educate, our broader stakeholders like our customers and, a growing number of investors and analysts who really want to see and understand how companies are dealing with, complex issues like climate change. So it's really exciting space to be working in, and really glad to have partnership with companies like AT&T, John.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks to all those who dialed in. This is the self-directed interview between Jen and John.
Yep.
If you have any questions, the offer stands. If you're looking to reduce your emissions, Equinix and AT&T are here to help. We're interested in the Connected Climate Initiative. If you're interested in learning more about that, let us know. You can just search your favorite browser and look for AT&T, Equinix, and Connected Climate Initiative, and we'd love to talk about that and ways we can help you on your sustainability journey. So I think we'll call it a day, Jen.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.